You don't decide whether the world feels safe. Your body does that long before you had memories, long before you had language. Your nervous system was already answering a question you didn't even know existed. Is this world I've been born into safe or dangerous? Not intellectually, not consciously, but through sensation, through the way your stomach tightened when voices got loud, through the warmth you felt when someone picked you up gently, through the unpredictability of footsteps, the quietness after conflict, the tone in someone's voice that told you whether you were welcome or in the way your body kept score. And from those early patterns, it built your most fundamental worldview. A worldview that's not stored in your thoughts, but in your nervous system. In your startle reflex, in the way you brace before speaking, in whether your shoulders sit naturally relaxed or slightly raised, as if shielding your neck from a world that might strike at any moment. Psychologist Yer Clifton identified this as the master primal belief, safe versus dangerous. The deepest, earliest assumption your mind makes about reality. It's not about whether the world is safe or dangerous. It's about whether your nervous system learned it was. And this belief, formed in silence and sensation, becomes the lens that quietly shapes everything. Two people walk into the same room. One feels at ease. The other feels threatened. Same room. Same people. Different worlds. Because safety is not a judgment, it's a reflex. Something your body decided decades ago, and something your mind now rationalizes without noticing. If your body concluded the world is mostly safe, life feels navigable. Your default state is ease. You expect things to work out, so you act like they will. And life often meets you halfway. But if your body learned that the world is mostly dangerous, life feels like thin ice. Calm feels temporary. Quiet feels suspicious. And even good moments feel like the warm air before a storm. This isn't anxiety. This is worldview. A worldview you didn't choose. A worldview that feels like reality. A worldview that whispers into every moment of your adult life. That it affects your relationships, the risks you take, the dreams you allow yourself to imagine. The way you interpret silence, the way you recover from stress. It shapes your intuition, your expectations, and even how deeply you're able to breathe. It is invisible until you know where to look. In this video, we're going to explore the primal belief of safe versus dangerous at the level of the body, the brain, the heart, and the childhood patterns that silently trained you to see the world one way or the other. And more importantly, we'll explore how this belief, even though it formed before you had a choice, can be gently unlearned, rewired, and transformed, because you are not trapped in the worldview you inherited. You just need to understand the body that built it. Before you learned to speak, before you learned your own name, your nervous system was already constructing a map of reality. Not a map of geography, or facts, or logic, but a map of safety. A map of what it feels like to exist here. A map of whether the world responds with warmth or with danger. And here's the part most people never realize. Your body was studying the world long before your mind was capable of understanding it. In infancy, you didn't interpret events, you absorbed them. Every pattern of comfort, every pattern of threat, every silence, every explosion of emotion around you created tiny predictions in your nervous system about what comes next. And those predictions became your first worldview. Imagine a baby crying, and someone comes. Not immediately, not perfectly, but reliably enough. The nervous system learns something profound without a single conscious thought. When I reach out, the world reaches back. This becomes the foundation of a safe world belief. Now imagine another baby crying, and no one comes. Or someone comes. Unpredictably gentle one moment, irritable the next. Or the environment swings between calm and chaos without warning. That nervous system learns a different rule. The world is unpredictable. Something could go wrong at any moment. This becomes the root of a dangerous world belief. The research behind primal world, Belief shows that these patterns don't need to be dramatic to leave a mark. You don't need trauma to form a dangerous worldview. You only need inconsistency, uncertainty, a lack of emotional safety. Moments that made your nervous system prepare instead of relax. This early learning becomes embodied. It lives not in your memories, but in your autonomic nervous system, the system that decides whether your heart slows down or speeds up, whether your breath drops into your belly or stays shallow in your chest. Children raised in reliably warm, stable emotional climates don't learn that life is perfect. They learn that life is manageable, predictable enough, coherent. They learn that when something breaks, it usually gets repaired. When things go wrong, there's a way through. This becomes a quiet, unconscious belief that the world itself behaves similarly, not flawlessly, but fairly. But children raised in volatile or inattentive environments learn that the world can flip without warning. That calm can vanish. That safety isn't guaranteed. That needs aren't met consistently. These lessons are internalized not as memories, but as permanent readiness, the body's baseline assumption that danger is always nearby. This is why two adults can sit in the same cafe, hear the same noise, and react completely differently. One startles instantly. The other doesn't even turn their head. One learns to scan for threats. The other learns to scan for possibilities. Both feel like they're just being realistic. Neither realizes they're replaying a worldview formed decades ago. And what's fascinating is that primal beliefs don't form from isolated moments. They form from emotional atmosphere. A home where people don't talk about feelings can create a dangerous worldview just as easily as a home with conflict. A parent who is physically present but emotionally unreachable teaches the nervous system a kind of existential uncertainty. A parent who is loving but overwhelmed can also unintentionally create environments that feel unpredictable. The nervous system doesn't measure events. It measures patterns. And once the pattern becomes familiar, the worldview becomes set. Safe world. People walk into life assuming stability. Dangerous world people walk into life assuming fragility. Safe world people interpret uncertainty as challenge. Dangerous world people interpret uncertainty as threat. Safe world people recover quickly when something goes wrong. Dangerous world people brace for it to happen again, and none of this is personality. None of it is just how you are. It's the echo of a childhood nervous system, doing its best to predict the future using the only data it had. Next, we'll explore how these early predictions evolve into adult behavior, how the world you learned becomes the world you see, the world you expect, and the world you unconsciously recreate. Because once you understand what your nervous system was trained to believe, everything you struggle with begins to make more sense. By the time you reach adulthood, your primal belief about the world safe or dangerous is no longer a memory of childhood. It has become the operating system running beneath your thoughts. It shapes how you walk into rooms, how you interpret strangers, how you make decisions, and even how you breathe. Two people can grow up, earn the same job, live in the same city, even sit in the same chair, yet one lives in a world that feels open, manageable, workable, and the other lives in a world that feels unpredictable, risky, and fragile. Not because their lives are different, but because their nervous systems learn different rules. A person with a safe world belief walks into uncertainty with quiet confidence. They might feel nerves, sure, but they also feel grounded. They expect the best more often than the worst, and that expectation shapes their behavior. They take the risk, they speak up, they try the new thing. They give people the benefit of the doubt. They trust that if something goes wrong, they'll deal with it. It's not that they are fearless. It's that they are resourced by the worldview their body built. Now imagine someone with a dangerous world belief. Their nervous system is tuned differently. They may be intelligent, capable, sensitive, but their body learned early that calm is temporary. that safety can vanish, that people can flip without warning. So walking into the same situation, they mentally rehearse every possible failure. They anticipate what might go wrong. They imagine being judged, hurt, rejected, embarrassed, overwhelmed. This person isn't pessimistic. They're prepared because their world has required preparation since childhood. Their body is doing exactly what it learned to do, scan for threat. Even when threat isn't there. This belief affects choices in ways that often go unseen. A safe world person tries things before they're fully ready. A dangerous world person waits until they feel 100% prepared, which rarely comes. A safe world person interprets a new opportunity as exciting. A dangerous world person interprets it as risky, destabilizing, or overwhelming. A safe world person sees conflict as repairable. A dangerous world person sees conflict as rupture. A safe world person assumes new friendships can work. A dangerous world person assumes new friendships come with hidden motives or eventual disappointment. The outer world is the same. The inner world changes everything. And here's the subtle part. This primal belief doesn't just shape behavior, it shapes perception itself. If you believe the world is dangerous, your brain literally notices more cues that match danger. Not because they're truly there, but because your mind is biased toward confirming what it already believes. This is why a stranger's neutral face may look angry. Why a delay in someone's text feels ominous. Why a mistake at work feels catastrophic. Why small uncertainties feel heavy. Your nervous system is not just scanning the present, it's predicting the future based on the past. This is why two people can live the same life but have entirely different emotional experiences. The world does not change, but the body that interprets it does. And there's something even deeper. People with dangerous world beliefs often interpret their reactions as personal flaws. They say things like, "I overthink everything. I'm too sensitive. I can't relax. I'm probably just wired this way." But these aren't flaws. These are logical adaptations to a world that once required vigilance. Meanwhile, people with safe world beliefs often don't realize they have a worldview at all. To them, ease feels like common sense, risk feels manageable, trust feels rational. They're not brave, they're calibrated. Your primal belief either opens the world or compresses it. It either creates a sense of expansion or a sense of contraction, and you have felt this contraction and expansion your entire life, even if you never had the words for it. We'll explore how this primal belief spills into the heart of your relationships, how safety or danger becomes the filter through which you love, connect, argue, attach, and repair, because nothing reveals a worldview faster than intimacy. If you want to understand someone's primal belief about the world, you don't need to watch how they act in public. Watch how they behave when someone matters to them. Intimacy exposes everything the nervous system believes about safety or danger, because relationships aren't just emotional, they're biological. They activate the same systems that were shaped in early childhood. A person with a safe world belief enters relationships with an assumption of stability. They expect that people, while imperfect, are generally well-intentioned. They assume that conflict can be repaired, that misunderstandings can be clarified, that closeness can deepen instead of collapse, because their body learned that safety is the default. Connection feels possible. They don't fear silence. They don't overanalyze tone. They don't rehearse conversations in their head for hours. Their nervous system rests, even when things get tense. Now contrast this with someone carrying a dangerous world belief. Their nervous system enters relationships differently. To them, closeness can feel like standing near a cliff's edge. You can enjoy the view, but you're constantly aware of how far you might fall. Their body learned early that safety is unstable, so they interpret small signals as warnings. A delayed text becomes a sign of withdrawal. A partner's quietness becomes a threat. A disagreement feels like abandonment. Being misunderstood feels like danger. This person is not dramatic. They are not insecure by choice. They are responding to a nervous system that learned that people can be unpredictable. A safe world person hears, "We need to talk," and thinks, "Okay, something to sort out." A dangerous world person hears the same words and thinks, "Something bad is happening," not because they choose to, but because their body is preparing for loss. And this difference creates two very different relationships. Behaviors. Safe world people communicate openly, assume repair is possible, give space without fear, interpret conflict as normal, trust that the relationship can withstand stress. Dangerous world people become hypervigilant, interpret ambiguity as rejection, cling or withdraw to minimize risk, struggle to believe that stability lasts, take things personally because everything feels personal. The same relationship behaviors. A pause, a sigh, a shift in tone create wildly different emotional responses, depending on which primal belief filters them. And here's the deeper layer. People with dangerous world beliefs often interpret their reactions as signs that they're unlovable, too much, too needy, too sensitive. They believe something is wrong with them, when in reality something happened to them. Their body is not broken. It's remembering. Meanwhile, people with safe world beliefs often don't even realize that trust is a skill because it feels instinctive. They are not better partners. They are responding from a nervous system calibrated to stability. What's powerful is how these worldviews affect attachment. Safe world people tend toward secure attachment, not because they worked for it, but because their worldview supports it. Dangerous world people often slip into anxious or avoidant patterns, not because they're difficult, but because their worldview expects either inconsistency or threat. This belief shapes how you express love, how you accept love, and how deeply you let someone see you. Not philosophically, but physiologically. And it affects another thing we rarely talk about: your capacity to stay in your body during emotional moments. A safe world nervous system stays connected. A dangerous world nervous system braces, and that bracing becomes the emotional tone of the relationship. Safety is not just a feeling. It becomes an identity. It becomes the tone of your inner voice, the range of your imagination, the size of your future. The primal belief you carry, safe or dangerous, eventually becomes the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Person with a safe world worldview doesn't simply walk through life expecting things to work out. They walk through life believing they can handle whatever happens. Their nervous system grants them a sense of inner stability that becomes confidence, not arrogance, not optimism. Just a grounded trust in their own capacity to navigate difficulty. They take risks not because they love danger, but because their default assumption is that the world is workable, that challenges are improvable, that problems have solutions, that effort pays off, and that setbacks, while painful, are survivable. This worldview creates a self-image rooted in capability. A dangerous worldview creates the opposite. When the world feels unpredictable or threatening, confidence becomes fragile. The nervous system doesn't offer the body resources. It offers defense. It prepares. It tightens. It anticipates harm. And over time, this constant vigilance becomes a belief about the self. I'm not good enough. I can't handle things. I shouldn't try unless I'm sure. Something will go wrong. I'm just not the type of person who can do that. These are not personality traits. They are protective adaptations. The nervous system, conditioned for danger, pushes the body toward caution. And caution, repeated for years, becomes identity. This belief shapes the stories you tell about your own abilities. A safe world person thinks, I can figure it out. A dangerous world person thinks, what if I fail? A safe world person thinks, this could be exciting. A dangerous world person thinks, this could go wrong. A safe world person sees their future as open. A dangerous world person sees their future as conditional, narrow, delicate. And here's the part that often goes unnoticed. Your worldview even determines what you think is possible for your life. If the world feels safe, possibilities expand. If the world feels dangerous, possibilities shrink. The dangerous world mind doesn't dream less because it lacks imagination. It dreams less because dreams feel unsafe. They require exposure, vulnerability, the risk of disappointment. The safe world mind feels like it has permission to imagine. These beliefs even shape the meaning you assign to suffering. A safe world person might interpret hardship as part of a journey, difficult but meaningful, something to lean into, something that ultimately reinforces their sense of direction. A dangerous world person often interprets hardship as confirmation. This is why I shouldn't try. This is what happens when I let my guard down. The same event, a failure, a betrayal, a setback, becomes two different realities depending on which worldview filters it, and not just emotionally. And EUROGICLLY. People with safe world beliefs show patterns of brain activation associated with exploration, reward, and curiosity. People with dangerous world beliefs show heightened patterns associated with vigilance, defensiveness, and risk prediction. It's not that one group is stronger or smarter. It's that one group's nervous system feels resourced, and the other feels threatened. And when threat becomes the baseline, the entire self reorganizes around survival. This worldview becomes the tone of your internal narrative, the way you explain events, the way you interpret silence, the way you recover from stress, the way you imagine the future. Danger compresses the self. Safety expands it, which means that shifting a dangerous world belief doesn't just change how you feel, it changes who you believe you are. It gives the nervous system permission to stop bracing and start living. It opens the door to a life that feels larger, softer, more connected. A dangerous world belief doesn't disappear because you understand it. It doesn't dissolve because you've identified where it came from. It shifts only when your body learns something new, consistently enough that it begins to rewrite its predictions. And that begins with a single truth most people never hear. Your nervous system is not loyal to the past. It is loyal to what feels familiar. If danger was familiar, you will unconsciously seek it, expect it, prepare for it, even when your life has changed. If unpredictability was familiar, calm will feel suspicious. If inconsistency was familiar, stability will feel strange. So the goal is not to force your mind to think differently. The goal is to give your body a new pattern to trust, changing. A primal belief is not an intellectual task. It is experiential, slow, repetitive, and deeply physical. It begins with noticing the moments when your body braces, the subtle tightening in the ribs, the shift in your breathing, the way your shoulders lift without asking permission. These micro reactions are not anxiety. They are your worldview activating itself. And every time you notice them, gently bring your attention back into your body. Not to fix it, not to force relaxation. Simply to signal, this moment is different from the past. Safety is learned through contrast. When your nervous system experiences something consistently stable, predictable, kind, or calm, something that contradicts its old expectations, the primal belief begins to loosen. Tiny moments become the proof your body never had. A conversation that doesn't explode. A pause that doesn't mean rejection. A mistake that doesn't lead to humiliation. A silence that isn't dangerous. A person who stays. A moment of calm that lasts longer than your body expected. These are not small moments. They are neurological events. They are the raw material of a new worldview. What shifts a dangerous world belief is repetition without rupture. Stable routines, stable people, stable inner practices, stable agreements with yourself, stable emotional tone the body relearns through. Consistency. And here's the most liberating truth. You don't have to become a safe world person overnight. You only have to give your nervous system enough evidence that the present is not the past. Over months, sometimes quietly, sometimes imperceptibly, your baseline begins to change. You breathe deeper without trying. You interpret uncertainty differently. Your imagination expands. Your capacity for rest increases. And slowly, your identity recalibrates. You stop seeing danger in every unknown. You stop assuming the worst. You stop living in a reality built by a younger version of you. You begin to inhabit a world that feels bigger than your fear. A world that feels workable. A world that feels less like something to survive and more like something to participate in. This is the transformation, not the world changing, but the body learning that it doesn't have to protect you from everything anymore. Safety, once unfamiliar, becomes familiar. And familiarity becomes truth. And truth becomes freedom.